In Five Nights at Freddy's Ruin, Roxy is seen wearing a brand new mask, which is extremely odd, because she's not seen wearing this at all during Security Breach. But her being fitted with this mask holds a deeper reason, a key bit of the story which has been missed up until this point in time, and this will finally help us piece together all the information in Ruin to complete the story and ending. And I know, you're probably thinking, oh well, it's because Cassie's father fitted her with a mask in Help Wanted 2. That's why we see her have this mask in Ruin. Makes sense, right? That's why she has the mask on in Ruin and doesn't have it on in Security Breach. But that's only one piece of the puzzle, and there's far more going on here. Several things which we completely missed and only now start to make sense. Things just don't happen by accident in FNAF. I mean, Cassie's father was the one who put this mask on Roxy. We obviously know later on in Ruin's storyline that Roxy gets deactivated by Cassie and the Faz wrench, and then miraculously comes back to life to save Cassie. Again, this is no coincidence, because we don't actually deactivate Roxy, we deactivate the mask. And this is where things start to get really interesting, because that mask was actually the security node. So why would Cassie's father be putting a mask on Roxy which contains a security node to MXES? And further to this, she's the last security node. She isn't the first or fifth or one in between. She is the last point of defense, because after her, you're free to deactivate MXES. But whoa, let's just rewind a little bit here. Cassie's father fitting Roxy with the mask, and I believe he doesn't just fit Roxy with a mask. Obviously we see that in Help Wanted 2, but there are other modifications which have been made to Roxy which we don't see, because not only has her design in the mask changed, she's also had various casing modifications. Just take a look at her calf. If you look at her shattered left calf and compare it to her ruined right calf, there's actually more casing available in her ruined form, which wouldn't make sense unless it was replaced / modified. She wouldn't somehow regrow her endo casing from the Security Breach timeline to the ruined timeline. We know she was in parts and service, and she was being serviced by Cassie's dad, meaning he could have easily replaced or modified other parts on Roxy, as shown by her left calf. It's evident. So why would he be giving Roxy this new mask which has a security node implanted in it? On first glance, you'd think she has the mask purely to cover up her face, but there's something deeper going on here. That mask is obviously a security node. We know it gets deactivated in Ruin. He's also been making other modifications to Roxy. Why? After thinking on this for several hours, the puzzle pieces finally started to make sense. Cassie's father knew about the mimic. He knew about MXES, hence why he made the mask a security node to stop it from ever getting out. He uncovered all of this while working in the pizza plates and working for Fazbear Entertainment, as we see in Help Wanted 2. And this is where things start to get really interesting, because when we're playing in Help Wanted 2, I believe we're just remembering his memories, piecing together everything from his perspective, because in Help Wanted 2, he's already in the system. He's already dead. We're recovering his memories, glitch trap memories, and piecing them all together. Hence why we see Remember Jeremy so much. We're helping him remember, and in turn showing us what actually happened, telling us something with the Pizzaplex is wrong. The mimic was still down there. He knew this during his time when he was alive and tried to stop the mimic from escaping. Hence why he made Roxy a security node for MXES. Cassie's father helped build MXES, and in doing so, he made the entity in MXES look like his favorite animatronic, Bonnie, a bunny, a rabbit, because as we know, Cassie actually tells us that Bonnie was her father's favorite. He uncovered Glitch Trap and the mimic's plan to escape. He makes Roxy a security node. He sets up MXES. And yes, I'd also like to point out that I know MXEX's system was designed to be very old and look very old, indicating that it could have been there a long time. The shell could have been there a long time, but the programming is clearly very recent. You're not telling me that they had all these nodes, this AR system in 1983, are you? That doesn't make sense. The old system was probably there in place, but it was obviously recently upgraded by Cassie's father. He also makes Roxy a protector. He knew that Roxy was his daughter's favorite, so makes her the final node. If anything was to go wrong, Roxy would be the last piece of the puzzle. She would also physically be a protector, a guardian to fight Mimic. Think about it logically. She somehow gets deactivated, well, her mask gets deactivated, she reboots into safe mode, and she's programmed to recognize that if, for whatever reason, her security node has been turned off, and her being the last one, she would recognize that MXEX is now free to be deactivated. Her programming would tell her that, and the first place she's to go to is to MXES to make sure no one's there deactivating it. It then starts to make sense why Cassie's father starts to modify Roxy's casing to make her more resilient to withstand any potential attack from the Mimic. The Mimic's plans actually has you shut down Roxy. The Mimic knew that Roxy would be coming to stop it. Hence why it has you shut Roxy down, or so it thinks. Whoop, threw it on the floor then, got a bit excited. thinks you shut Roxy down. It's no coincidence we somehow see Roxy under a forklift, ready to be deactivated. Something else is going on here. I'm not going to get into the forklift bit because I'm going to do that in a separate video, but something else is going on. Roxy's somehow lying there under this forklift, ready to be deactivated. That, my friends, in itself is going to be an upcoming video, so make sure you subscribe to get that video in the next few weeks. But there is far more going on with Roxy, the mask, the nodes, than meets the eye, and we haven't even finished yet. We know Cassie's dad knew about MXEX, but what doesn't make sense is why he tries to stop it. Perhaps he knew there was a plan involving children, potential abductions, and wanted to stop it. Knew about Mimic's plan to escape, but he probably didn't know that his own daughter was going to be the one to go in and try and stop it as well. But that right there, my friends, could be entirely wrong. We know Gregory's guest profile from Security Breach was unknown. He didn't have one. Freddy says this himself.
Your guest profile is unknown to me. Who are you?
But Cassie, she had a guest profile. It's confirmed in Ruin. Roxy even remembers her birthday party. She has her own profile in the system.
Do you still like carrot cake? It has been some time since I saw you last. If I remember correctly, it is on the 11th. I remember because you are number 1. Twice.
Now, we know the Mimic contacts Cassie to come and rescue Gregory, pausing as Gregory. So the likelihood is the Mimic knew her guest profile, knew her father was a Fazbear employee, and knew she was connected with Gregory. This is how he learned to contact her, through this guest profile. It's highly likely that when her father uncovered all the secrets about Fazbear Entertainment and the Mimic below the Mega Pizzaplex, he also uncovered that the Mimic would likely try and find a way to escape, hence why her father builds all these security programs, the nodes, and the Roxy mask. Now, what is extremely interesting about the Roxy mask is that it also connects her to the AR network, enabling her to be able to see everything just like Cassie does. Hence why when Cassie puts on her mask, she can see Roxy with her missing parts reappear in a hologram-like state, which glow bright green. Because as we know, things not connected to the network will not show up. Hence why we never see the Endos in the network, we never see the Headless Freddy in the network, because they're not actually connected to it. Roxy, on the other hand, was via that mask, and she can see exactly what we see. Figuratively speaking, because she's actually blind. But who knows, maybe she's like Neo in the Matrix. And before we continue, I just want to say it's extremely important to remember that Roxy was the last security node, meaning that if someone had deactivated her, they'd already deactivated all the other nodes in the Pizzaplex. And that means they're probably going to turn off, MXEX next. And if they're doing that, then they're trying to release the Mimic. And let's not forget, before Gregory took her eyes, they were able to see through walls, see through endoskeleton casing, and would enable her to perfectly spot a shape-shifting Mimic that can hide in costumes and animatronic shells. She literally was the perfect counter to the Mimic. Cassie's dad knew this, and that's why he made her the protector. So if anything was to ever go wrong, she'd be the last line of defense. And fittingly, she was his daughter's favorite. Makes complete sense. So the real reason she was wearing that mask isn't because she thought it looked good. There was an underlying reason. It was a security node. There was a massive overarching story which we're only now starting to solve. But there's so many other questions, such as what happens to her after the Mimic fight, what she was trying to say to Cassie, but the dialogue was removed. I'd recommend checking out all my other videos, and the big question for me is, how did she actually get under that forklift? And that, my friends, is going to be an upcoming video, because that's going to be massive. And all this in itself is just a theory. A game theory? So make sure you subscribe to see the upcoming videos, and I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'm Twisty for Twisted Animatronic. Stay safe out there, superstars.